Great greetings and welcome to another video. Um, we're going to just look a little more. I realized I should have scrolled by the end of the last video. I think it was almost 4 hours or 3 hours. Oh, I think it was over 3 hours. So I kind of was trailing off, and I realized, oh, I should have tried to stay coherent a little longer because we had some more to look at in that UN entry on the Wikipedia, but also I wanted to quickly look at ADRIP, well, the organization from which ADRIP hails, and see if I can get some clues, because these things, I'm telling you, they're presented very, you know, polished and perfect, and like, what could be wrong with this? This is so good. How could you talk against it? They talking about you. That's the thing, though. They're not supposed to be talking about me. I'm supposed to be talking for me, I should say. You know what I'm saying? Because as an Indian not taxed, which is a status, and as an Indian who now doesn't have the doctrine of discovery as an excuse for his property being stolen and his identity being stolen and his whole country being stolen, I think we got to be critical. It's a time, of liberation of some sort, and we don't want to miss this one, right? Oh man, but I remember someone even said the word liberty is not correct. You just get into it, you realize that's lingua franca. That's a lingua franca effect. Every word is like about, it's almost like you're speaking in terms of your master, because liberty, someone explained, that's what the military gives to sailors. So what liberty, God given, is not liberty. You know what I'm saying? God given, it takes into account that you being here, you automatically given land, of your forefathers. You're automatically given your God-given rights, right? I don't need liberty. I need what I got by virtue of being brought here, or arriving here, So all these lingua, I guess they would amount to commerce, or corporate terms. They don't apply to an entity that owes nothing to anything on this earth, right? Except its creator. And that's something that each of us, that's a journey for each of us to take, to who's my creator, like, how am I, and the freedom to do that, you know what I'm saying? So we just, again, this is critical. All of this is critical. This is not, oh, look what they wrote, I'm so happy. No, this is who are you? That's what this is. So and I'm telling you, the clues we find, they're just small. That's why you gotta, like, really, again, you gotta have the eyes, and be critical, a little more critical of the things we grab for. So that's all this is about. This is not to tear down, or it could be constructive. It really could be. It's all how we look at it, right? Everything, but the remedy, there I go talking lingua franca, solution is our sovereignty. That's why I say this, because I guess I'm hoping to find different ways to communicate to Indians that your sovereignty is all you ever need. That's what's God given. Okay. We got entities that are doing land grabs through either being a monarch or being a church, and they're coming between you and your birthright. You know, now they look out for the birthright of their children, right? Well, why are you trying to land grab from everybody else? You know, so okay. So the first thing, I said quickly in the video that we will find that okay, what did I say? That the United Nations, and I should have expounded on that, the United Nations, they override. I said something about override, you know, and I did, you know, it escaped me that it was right there in the Wikipedia entry. I was thinking that it was in another document that I didn't get to, but so we want to go, how does the United Nations get to, now you as an American, the Constitution arrived, our traitor Indians called the Iroquois helped draft it, but it still puts it in Indian authority, right? Now, see, that's the kind of ironic thing. The Iroquois being involved at all, we might say, you know, maybe I should get ahead of myself, but so that means Indians have an authority. If your document came from an Indian source, then really we are the creator, right? So that gives us the dominant factor. But unfortunately, like I said, that it's our traitor Indians that, you know, and then they cut us out of it because they helped facilitate us being called black. So you create a document for Indians, but then you facilitate or you acquiesce to all Indians being called black. So what did you do? You created a document, but then you didn't, it was made where it couldn't apply to us. You know, so the Iroquois drafted this, or, you know, were the foundings or beginnings of the Constitution, right? Or so we are told, right? But then Indians disappear and Native Americans appear. And the Iroquois Confederacy doesn't it doesn't do what an Indian should, which is stand up and say, wait a minute, when we created this, we were this people. And now there's a new people that representing us, something is wrong. You know, so, you know, so, okay. Technically, if it came from an Indian, even though it's a traitor, technically, it seems like it should be our, we should have the jurisdiction, like the authority, you know, of it. That's how, that's why you need a traitor, because they're going to do what's necessary so that the fraud can get popping. But then soon after that, the plan is, okay, we call them Indians. You have an authority by virtue of it was an Indian that, or an Indian tribe or group of confederacy that the Constitution is originating from, right? So that's how we get in. We need you to do that. But then the plan will be, you will help us to land grab basically all of Algonquin's territory. But then all Indians will be reclassified. Okay? So if that doesn't work to the way we want it, then let's have a United Nations. Okay, you know, I'm talking, what do you call it? What do you call it? When you you know, just sort of doing a little what do you call it? Like an example, okay? The words escape me right now. But anyway, so what I'm saying is the layers that, you know, you do one thing that's already got the Indians in a compromised and defeated position. But then you go even further with another layer that the same entity that did the fraud with the Indians, now you're going to create or mastermind the United Nations, right? What we have to be concerned with is the origin. What is the origin? So the United Nations, we read, it's almost like what they're saying with what the Iroquois did. Somehow it originated with the Iroquois. They given origination credit. Same thing with United Nations. Woodrow Wilson is sort of like the father of the United Nations because it was his idea, right? So again, these are our colonizers' dreams and fantasies of and vehicles that will act as a series of traps for those who they have disenfranchised, if you can follow me. Sometimes I don't get it out right way, and I hope you can follow me. Okay, so now I just want to show you what I should have showed you. So let's share the screen. We're still looking at the Wikipedia entry for the United Nations. But now we're going to go down to how the grab happens. We looked at a lot of interesting stuff, right? So let's go down where I should have went. I'm still not sure I'm going to read, a whole lot of this. It's 42 pages. We want to just look at some key things. Okay. I don't think we got this far. Did we even get this far? This is what we wanted, the structure. And the highlighted section. You can read it and then we'll read it. Let's have a moment of silence because this is heavy. This is heavy. Let you do you read it first. Okay. The highlighted part. We just want to jump to, we're being critical. Okay. Okay. Let's read it. On the basis of the Convention on Privileges and Immunities of the United Nations, the UN and its agencies are immune from the laws of the countries where they operate, safeguarding the UN's impartiality with regard to host and member countries. What does that sound like to you? I think I told you even in the last video, though we didn't look at it. I mentioned it. Does that sound like the UN can override everything we wrought with our Constitution? Just sit with that, Indians. Don't get mad at me now. So is that where the jurisdiction is coming? It's just by virtue of me being the UN, none of your laws they're immune from the laws of the countries where they, meaning the UN, operate. Now, it was founded, the headquarters are in New York. But New York is a state in America. On the basis of the Convention on the Privileges and immunities of the United Nations. The UN and its agencies like the World Health Organization, the World Food Program, UNESCO, UNICEF, whatever else they create to be in control of everything. UNDRIP. On the basis of the Convention on the Privileges and Immunities of the United Nations, the UN and its agencies are immune from the laws of the country. Immune? So you don't have to go by our laws. You are the peace keeping, or call yourself the peacekeepers of the world, but you fly in the face of their laws so they can be impartial with regard to host and member country. This is the kind of power that a one world government would have to have, right? Because fuck your laws. This I feel like this is a drop the mic moment. And why should we go any further? That kind of, that kind of should set our heads straight. And I want to, now lately, a theme in the videos are the state, about the states, because I think we're led to believe that the states are our safe haven when the feds are acting crazy. But the state is also a creation of the colonizer. How can it be a safe haven for Indians? I'll tell you what's our safe haven. Our linguistic lines. How can we be an Indian and not want our linguistic lines back? We have a right to them. We have superior right. That's the whole point of returning to your Indian status. You have to put yourself back on the land. You can't put yourself on a state, and you can't put yourself on some federal ground. And the state and the federal, I tell you right now, they're both one and the same. State of, I keep saying, I just hope after a while you realize that the organic states that would have been part of the first Constitution, because those were land soil states. But after the corporation created everything into corporate entities, then it created the state of New York, or the state of. Before that conversion to a commercial entity so they could have full jurisdiction, remember, we put them in charge of our commerce, so it was only supposed to be strictly commerce. But they said, wait, well, how can we make everything commerce so that we can be in control of everything? Let's recreate the New York state into state of New York, and then it will be in our jurisdiction. And so the state is just a little puppet for us now. It's not the organic one that wasn't a commercial entity. So again, the feds and the state right now, they're one and the same. I said before, Anna is trying to, and she's doing it, resurrecting the organic version of the states. That's what the original contract dealt with. That's why we didn't look at it yet, but when it comes to Dred Scott, we're being told that descendants of African slaves could not be citizens. It's not true. And we didn't do that video yet, so I shouldn't talk too much. But each state had their own system before they were turned into little franchises of the feds, and then the feds override. So there were, of the 13 states, 5 of them had citizenship for descendants of African slaves. Okay, so this is in the Dred Scott. This is how I found out. It's in where I found out. It's from Dred Scott. The Dred Scott case mentions that there were 5 states: Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Rhode Island, and I believe Pennsylvania, I think. I would have to look, but there was 5 of them: New Jersey, New York, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and I believe Pennsylvania. So the states in their original form were more autonomous. They had their own system in each state. They could be, grant state citizenship to that state, not the United States, because there was no, wait a minute, was there a United States? Well, there was no United States citizen, okay, until 1868. Dred Scott was 1856. So in his time, they were state citizens of the state, not of the United States. In 5 of the 13 states, there were state citizens or state nationals, and they could be black, white. Well, they, black and white, I don't believe was created till also the civil rights, thing, which would have been after 1868 or in, in that thereabout, because civil rights is another creation that none of us should be fighting for. Constitutional rights, if anything, or constitutional statuses, not fake slave statuses or caste system statuses. So that, I think we're just going to leave that. That kind of says something right there. And this is international law. The UN is in an international jurisdiction because it's a corporation. So on that note, maybe we should look at what Anna has to say about the UN. Okay. The UN corporation is just another commercial corporation. Okay? The UN corporation is just another commercial corporation. We'll read that part again. The UN corporation is just a commercial corporation. So what does that mean? It's in the sea jurisdiction. And when we find our rights in a sea jurisdiction, we are in commerce, not law of the land. Indians, I thought we required land. So if we go on the laws of the sea, will they help protect us on the land? Or how about, will they keep us on the land? Will they support our status on the land? It can't. It's a sea jurisdiction altogether. Every corporation, every single corporation is a sea jurisdiction. Every single one. But that makes sense. It simplifies it for us. The corporation, we did a video on that, the origins of the corporation. It came from Negropeans. So that really is what we want from Anna, that statement she makes. We want to remind ourselves that this is a corporation. Their laws amount to statutes and codes, no matter what they call them. International alone is a sea jurisdiction. Just any international law is in the sea jurisdiction. It might as well, I don't know why they don't just call it commerce. Just call it law, a commercial code, but they don't want to do that because then they wouldn't be able to fool us so easy. If we saw that it was just commerce, just business, maybe we know the difference. Maybe we know that has nothing to do with men and women of the land. It has everything to do with corporations, which is why it was so important to turn New York State into state of New York. That's a corporate entity. New York State was not. But again, let's not get too hasty with states, because I think we're going to see something in the American Organization of States. Now, right there, that they're the creators of ADRIP. That's another corporation as well. Now, Anna didn't write about that, but the American Organization of States. Right now, there are no non-commercial states. Anna is trying to resurrect that for the immigrants. And I'm not mad at her. At least there's some semblance of order and some semblance of adherence to the original Constitution. That's all she's doing. She's saying we have a contract here. She's going by the contract. So she's not out of order. I mean, I think, in other words, the level of her sovereignty is what she's fighting for. The Indians have a higher level, but if we abandon that arena of sovereignty, then Anna will have the lead, as she should. If she's smart enough to know what sovereignty is all about and know when a land grab is occurring or a corporate grab or a corporate takeover is happening, girl, get your coins or whatever you got coming to you, okay? Because it doesn't make sense for Indians not to know that their sovereignty is of the utmost. That's what's going to give you your land. There is no sovereignty without land. So I want to read the rest of Anna, but I told y'all she's deep, y'all. She's deep. Some of the stuff is like, it's just go, okay, Anna, please. Girl, you know I don't understand all this shit. Come on now. Make it plain. But let's attempt. Because see, when you unpack in the UN, I think it's a little tricky. I think breaking down the states and the Fed is a little easier somehow. The UN is, but we have our North, our North Star is that it's a corporation. That should simplify it. That should simplify it. I'm going to jump real quick because we want to look at what a charter, because that's another. And I didn't even open the web page. I just want us to see right here. I really should print this as it is. Let me see if I can print this and then read it, because we got all this stuff is happening by charter. So what the fuck is a charter? And I said it before, but now we're going to look at, hello, come on. It's not even pulling it out. Okay, so it can't print searches, I guess. More settings. Let's see. Okay, so we can't do that. Okay, never mind. We just go back to and just read it cold from. Wait. Where'd it go now? Y'all done took it away? No. Is that it? Took it away. Okay, so we have to look for it again. What is a charter? What is a charter? Okay, so we're just going to get the quick. We don't want to, waste too much. A charter is a document that grants or guarantees rights, privileges, or franchises to a person or a group. A charter is issued, this is what we want to look at, by a government or a sovereign power. Indians, when you have your sovereignty back, and stop playing around talking about, I just want to be inside the corporation. When you have your sovereignty, you will be able to grant charters. Right now, we just getting chartered down by governments and other sovereign powers. But we don't have sovereignty, so we can't do this. I'll say it again. We don't have sovereignty, so we can't grant charters like the let's look at this, because the United Nations is a corporation. But see, government has mixed in with corporations ever since what happened in America happened in America. That would be when Lincoln turned the United States of America into the United States, and that became like the corporation. So corporations and governments can be basically, this is what the grab is about. This is why it's important to corporatize a government, like what happened in America. So let's read it again. A charter is a document that grants or guarantees rights, privileges, or franchises to a person or group. A charter is issued by a government or a sovereign power, and it is executed in due form. A charter can be used for various purposes, such as trading, education, or governance. The part we're concerned about, once again, is only a government or a sovereign can issue a charter. So who issued the charter to create the UN and ADRIP? Were they chartered? It couldn't have been people who are not sovereign, like Indians, Negroes, coloreds. You can't do this. But it looks like some president did, or some other sovereign power. Like, in other words, the Church of Rome will assume that role of sovereign, the high, Anna, we learned from Anna that the Church of Rome really is where corporations can't, he has the power to dissolve corporations because they're basically under his jurisdiction. All corporations are under the Pope's jurisdiction. So when you make a corporation, you're automatically in the see. He is called the Holy See as well. It's an interesting connection. So everything that is a corporation can be dissolved by the Pope. So does that mean you have the authority, Indian? No. That's why when he denounced the doctrine of discovery, that's why it has so much weight. It really does. Well, he's the one that did that. Well, not himself, but the Church of Rome back in the 13 or 1400s. So we know who can grant a charter now. And if Indians remain under the corporation, a corporation that can be dissolved by the Pope, he has the power to do that. So you're giving your sovereignty to the same entity that said that you can be taken over in a doctrine of discovery situation. So you're giving your sovereign powers to the corporation that the Pope can dissolve. So he remains your Lord and Master. If Indians don't understand why their sovereignty is important, maybe this can help them. The corporation can't be our safe haven because we didn't create it. It falls in the jurisdiction of the sea. What we create has to be land-based, not sea-based, because what? We are sovereign on our land only. But if someone comes and grabs us off of it, that's why we have no authority, point blank, period. We've given it to states and corporations. But who's in charge of corporations? That is the Holy See, they call him. So let's now see, because I want to make sure I'm correct about the UN Charter. Okay, here we go right here. The UN Charter. The United Nations is part. I don't want this thing here. Stop. I might want to highlight though. Okay. Okay. The United Nations is part of the broader UN system. So it became a system. So first, the United Nations was had that headquarters in New York. So I thought that was the foundation, but it's saying now that it is just part of the broader UN system, which includes an extensive network of institutions and entities. Central to the organization are 5 principal organs established by the UN Charter: the General Assembly, the Security Council, the Economic and Social Council, the International Court of Justice, and the UN Secretariat. A 6th principal organ, the Trusteeship Council, suspended its operations on November 1st, 1994, upon the independence of Palau, the last remaining UN trustee territory. We did read this, I guess. 4 of the 5 principal organs are located in the main UN headquarters in New York City, while the International Court of Justice is seated in The Hague. We did read this, though. Well, I don't know why I don't remember reading it. Maybe I needed to emphasize more. But yeah, because I do remember Nairobi. So there's major agencies are in the based in the UN offices of Geneva, Vienna, Nairobi, and additional UN institutions are located throughout the world. The 6 official languages in the UN used in intergovernmental meetings and documents are Arabic, Chinese, English, French, Russian, and Spanish. Okay. On the basis of the Convention on the Privileges and Immunities of the United Nations, the UN and its agencies are immune from the laws of the countries where they operate, safeguarding the UN's impartiality. With regard to host and member countries. Below the six organs are in the words of the author Linda Facillo, an amazing collection of entities and organizations, some of which are actually older than the UN itself, and operate with almost complete independence from it. These include specialized agencies, research and training institutions, programs and funds, and other UN entities. All organizations in the UN system obey the noble mayor principle. That's French, right? Which calls for salaries that will attract and retain citizens of countries where compensation is highest, and which ensures equal pay for work of equal value, regardless of the employee's nationality. So they all get paid the same no matter what country they're in? Is that what that means? It's sound like a form of socialism a little bit, or something like that. In practice, the International Civil Service Commission, which governs the conditions, international sea jurisdiction, that governs the conditions of UN personnel, takes reference to the highest paying national civil service. Takes reference to the highest paying national civil service. Staff salaries are subject to an international tax that is administered by the UN organization. It's a whole, it's like, it sounds like a whole government. And it really is, isn't it? It's just a matter of, are you going to be under this government or yours? And are, you know, in as much as they are, you are in it, they have some kind of overriding authority. Like, it's almost like being under a dictator somewhat, because the citizens, don't they have to go by the laws of their country? Okay, I think we're getting another message from the ancestors. Just come, sometimes things fly out your mouth. So if the UN is immune to statute, well, we are immune too if we ever get the hell out. If we ever get the hell out, we would be just like the UN, which means we can make our own declarations. They're immune to our laws. Or unless I'm reading crazy. I thought I read that they don't have to go by our laws or the laws that are part of the United Nations. But I do if I'm a citizen. So you are taking you're like a sovereign over me. You don't have to go by my laws. And if Indians ever get their shit together, this is the kind of power they would have. Oh, if you didn't know what sovereignty meant before HERU read this shit, you should know now. It's not for children. Sovereignty ain't for children, man. Unfortunately, that led to what they call emancipation. You gotta be an adult to want sovereignty, because that means I really want to run shit like an adult should be. I don't want to be a child in a corporate entity. And now that I think about it, the revelation I was getting is, let's go back to what Anna said. The UN corporation is just other commercial corporation like McDonald's or Amazon formed in Vichy, France during World War II by fascists bent on world domination. One of the fascists was Woodrow Wilson, the president, who we read that this was his idea. He thought that we should all just get along. And so he had this idea, and then it gets off the ground, and he's not part of it. That's a real G right there. You just take my structure. I know I'm the boss of it because I created it, so I don't have to be in it. I'm going to call the shots from outside of the shit. But it's still a corporate entity. So what does that mean? If men and women pull themselves out of corporate entities, they will have charge over the corporate entity. Our government acting, our corporation acting like a government, that's what it had to do to get us to be under it, rather than them being our employees. They switched the script and made us basically their little employees and franchises and shit. But maybe we should read a little more of what Anna has to say. It gets complicated because she really knows a lot more than my brain want to know. Okay. It is criminal to the core. She said this is the UN she talking about, y'all. It is criminal to the core, and the French people and French government need to be highly motivated to pull the plug on it and liquidate its far-flung mercenary empire. I think since the writing of this, Anna realized that the Pope is in charge of all, and she does mean all, corporations. So the UN would actually fall under the Pope as well. Again, we have the entity that called the doctrine of discovery into being, and we are slipping into other entities that fall in his jurisdiction. The UN charter. So someone chartered the UN, right? Who it had to be a sovereign or a government. But if a government is a corporation and the Pope is in charge of all corporations, so who is head of all of this? Baby, he's called the Vicar of God. Of course he would be. He would find a way, or the entity, the Church of Rome, would find a way to grab jurisdiction in the name of God. Because we would all agree that shouldn't God be in charge of his world? Yeah, well, he could do that without being a corporation. Help me, somebody make it make all the sense when it's coming out the right way. Okay. It is criminal to the core. The Pope could dissolve the UN if he wanted to. That's the bottom line. If we were sovereign, we would not only be able to charter shit instead of being chartered, we could do the chartering. That's what sovereignty gives you. You can a sovereign or a government, which I really, again, what is a government but a corporation, right? Huh? The one we're the type of government we are under is a corporation. Before that, it was, I would have to say, it was still a corporation. But I think the difference was what was it? Was it not for profit? I'm not. I would have to go back and look that up. Um. So that part, I think, again, I think Anna has learned that it's the Holy See that has the power to liquidate, not necessarily France, unless we're talking about the king of France or something of that. But he's also under royals are, the way I see it, royals are directly related to the Church of Rome. I say that because just look at a coronation. That's the one piece of evidence that I have. Who is conferring kingship to who? Why is the church even involved in a coronation? Because it's seen that their God is kinging somebody to be his representative. You know, it's like if the Holy See or the Pope is Peter, then Peter crowns his disciples. But they're all built on the rock that is Peter. That's what scripture said. So this is how religion creates your entire legal system, your government system. But if Indians pull all the way out, we would realize that, but this was all imposed on us. It was not ours. We had a right to not be Christian if we didn't want to. It was forced on us because the idea was somehow that this religion is supposed to knock out everything else. And if it meant killing and torture and rape and pillage, okay. But you know what? The Pope denounced the doctrine of discovery and all those shenanigans, really. So that means it was not the shining example of righteousness to rape and murder in the name of the doctrine of discovery. The way I see it, everything that the doctrine of discovery did now is no longer protocol. It was wrong. While fronting the actual United Nations organization as an instrumentality for world peace, what they have really worked at all these years is the creation of an instrumentality of world domination. Even from what we read, we can see how they can dominate the world. They have the health organization, which forced us. That's domination. The health, the WHO, World Health Organization, basically was putting out mandates, I guess they would call it, that everybody needs to get this shot. That's domination. Well, when Indians get from out on all this bullshit, they'll have a voice because we can say, but I'm not in your little happy world of domination. I'm a sovereign, just like you made yourself somehow, some way. So I don't have to go by anything your leader says. I don't go by anything mandates you make. This is what Indians get when they grab their sovereignty. But if you make sovereignty a bad word that I'm not supposed to say in front of the government, that you're an institution, man or woman, that the colonizer created. And what that means is you just don't feel right doing something outside of their laws and their constructs. So that's what now they got your mind. Now they have your mind. That's all they really need, the governmental. And they have completely given you a brain transfusion. a brain, yeah. What do you call it? Transplant. A blood transfusion and a brain transplant. Because now you just think the way they want you to think. Now, I can't, that's illegal. Oh, well, sure it is, because we're not in their legal system. Thank God it's illegal. For us, their bullshit is illegal. Because we don't have to go by it. So it's not legal for us. If we are Indians not taxed, which means we have a status to maintain, which means we have a birthright that our grandmother gave us, great grandmothers. And if you despise your birthright, then you'll be a slave like Esau was. But you see, Esau didn't even deserve that because he did not despise his birthright. If an Indian is telling you that your sovereignty is like, what word? Everything to you, and you'd be like, would you stop talking about that, please? Or they're like, I don't want to do that. Well, then again, somebody else will take your sovereignty. It's there. God know it is. That's why they had to reclassify you. They know you had a right to your land. So even the Pope really didn't deny your birthright because he made you he agents, I guess, of who fell under the auspices of Rome reclassified you so that it wouldn't be said that your birthright was stolen. You're a black, you're a colored, you don't have a birthright, you're a slave. So we take control of whoever this birthright belonged to that's no longer here because they died with the smallpox. Oh, they got defeated somehow and everything, and they gone now. And we don't want this land to go to waste. All this good stuff, the milk and honey. So let's just give it to El Papa, and he's going to create a whole government system, and where he's HNIC, and the Indians who think they're black and still or want to be Indians with no sovereignty, because it's both the same thing. What is a colored? What is a nigger? What is a black? We said it before. It's an Indian without sovereignty. What is a black? What is a colored? What is a nigger? What is an African American? It's an Indian without sovereignty. You might be called an Indian and be Indian looking, like Miss Dillard has provided us with ways of identifying inauthenticity. So you could be Indian looking and maybe even be called Indian, but without your sovereignty, well, why change the label? If the shoe is the right fit, don't be fronting. You're not an Indian. You're still a Negro in all practical for all practical purpose. So you probably read ahead, which I ain't gonna blame you, because who knows when I ever start reading again when I start doing this. World domination. Anna is telling us, while fronting the actual United Nations organization, but I don't even think the actual United Nations organization is that great either. But she's bringing attention to the fact that UN is different from United Nations, and she's correct. If you incorporate it as the United Nations and now everybody calling you the UN and you making UN this and UN that, you ain't no longer what you was supposed. That's why you're not about peace no more. You about world domination, like she just said, because the United let me see. Yeah, the UN is about world domination. The United Nations was about peacekeeping, allegedly. But to join them, you had to be at war with the Axis people, the Axis nation, the axis of evil. I think is that what Bush used to call it. He was referring to this shit, right? Remember they called it the axis of evil or whatever. And that's what we read when we read the Wikipedia entry for United Nations, that when you became part of the United Nations, you had to basically agree to wage war with the Axis. How, if you would again, you can't make this shit up, man. You are the world tool of peace, and you say when you get with us, you got to wage war with the Axis. Why can't we wage peace? Are they misbehaving again? While fronting the actual United Nations organization as an instrumentality for world peace, what the UN have really worked at all these years is the creation of an instrumentality of world domination and coercion, using any form of lie or excuse possible for their actions. When people try to tax cow farts, it took me a minute to understand what she was saying. When people try to tax cow farts, it's time for your Shinola census to hit the red zone. She is such a hoot sometimes. When people try to tax cow farts, it's time. What if they taxed our farts? We'd have to hold that shit in. Turn it into a belch. Okay. The criminality which has infested UN, and she puts it in quotes, aid programs should tell you enough. Less than 2% of all the foreign aid that the United States funneled to the UN ever made it to the people it was supposed to help. Instead, it got channeled to drug runners, prostitution rings, and booze, and gambling, and proliferations of arms deals, and theft of natural resources. Oh, yeah, how could we leave that one out? Especially in the Mideast and Africa. Well, the Africans get their feet kissed by the head honcho of all of this. So I guess somebody in Africa got a little more power than El Papa. I don't see why El Papa bend down and kissing their feet, yo. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, whew, that was a teachable moment. And they just lied all about it. He kissing they because he's hoping that they have peace. Again, peace. They got 54 seats in the United Nations. If they don't know what peace means, who the hell can teach them? Well, that's why he had to kiss their feet. I've never seen that act. I said it before, we'll say it again. Have you ever seen this man kiss feet for peace? I would think he'd be kissing all the feet in Palestine and Israel. If you want peace, and that's the way to get it, boo, you gotta like get your chapstick, break out the chapstick, and get to kissing. Okay. Because what I'm trying to say is, if that's the protocol to bring peace, the Pope should never leave the Middle East. Oh boy. Oh boy. I just hope y'all get a good laugh before you punch me out for saying this stuff. That's all I hope. Everybody, that say you going to, you should shut up. Shut up. Oh boy. Well, okay. So she's linking the she seems to be linking a lot to France, and I think I understand why. And so that's where I might have to check my Algonquins, because you guys were the ones who was all loving up with the French, right? Uh, so maybe the Iroquois thought, I best to get in bed with the British, because you know, you know, I still think that it ended up worse with that alliance. I really do, because then there was no Indians, point blank, period, nowhere. Okay, there would the Native Americans showed up, and all Indians went underground, like in the movie Us. Mm-hmm. And that face that he made in Get Out. Mm-hmm. Um, Less than 2% of all the foreign aid that the United States, but it's just like it's really given to yourself, because you basically the brainchild of Woodrow Wilson. Uh, so you know this. Okay. Uh, so that's what they do. Besides peace, it's channeled to drug runners, uh, the prostitutions, rings, the booze, the gambling, the proliferation of the arms deals, the theft of the natural resources, especially in the Middle East and Africa, where the Vinci French and their Dutch and Netherlandish conspirators have wreaked havoc for generations. Because we did read that they have so many other little entities, right? So what are these little beasts doing? The entire Grand Duchy of Luxembourg needs to be cleaned out like a wasp nest, fumigated, and given back to the people of Luxembourg. The Swiss cantons are equally infected by these international crime syndicate scum. Woo. But the Swiss are willing and able to clean their own house once made aware and motivated to address the clear and present danger. Back in the 1970s, the endlessly useless bums in the territorial United States Congress took it upon themselves to release this is why I release all our state laws to the United Nations organization, which the UN corporation then capitalized upon and falsely claimed that this gave them the right to dispose of our property. Back in the 1970s, the endlessly useless bums in the territorial United States Congress took it upon themselves. They gave themselves over 300 enumerated functions that we didn't give them. So they took it upon themselves to release all our state laws to the United Nations organization. How do you release? Does she mean it's like suspend them? I don't know. In which the UN corporation then capitalized upon and falsely claimed that this gave them the right to dispose of our property. So it's the state. It's like a grab. It's a grab. And Congress did it once again. This is the same group that would be over federal Indians. Any Indian that's gonna be, getting aid from the federal and happy to have a reservation, This is the same Congress that's going to be their plenary authority, supreme authority over Indians in their construct. Now, if we go back to our constructs, we would be sovereign, meaning we're not asking you for some reservation. We are claiming ancestral lands that were here and laid out before you arrived. That's our birthright. That's our birthright. And again, that linguistic map, you know, I really, really, hold on a minute. Okay. I wanted to pull up the linguistic map, and I think this image is what Indians need to meditate upon. This is what you'll be getting back when you claim it. How do you claim it? I think it should go right onto our IDs, baby. That's what the ancestors put in my bonnet. So I just want to look at it now. Thank you, ancestors. Thank you so much. I love this. I love this. I feel so empowered by this, you know? So the IDs would here we go, right here. Here we go. Here we go. Because we want to immediately let all other sovereigns. I don't really think there are other sovereigns. I think there are. Once they're in that construct, you're basically you under the Pope. Okay, you're under the Pope. You're under the monarchs, because they didn't go nowhere, right? If, in other words, there would have to be no monarchs for me to believe that there are sovereigns other than American Indians. Why are American Indians sovereign? Why do we have this special sovereignty, y'all? Like, what makes us so different? Number one, we're the motherland, right? So mama is going to stay mama, right? Little babies trying to beat mama over the head and talk about, I'm king, no, you the king, no, I'm the king, no, you the, no. The queen, the mama, you came out of her womb. She's sovereign. You got your sovereignty from her, but we kicked your ass out because you so loved the power more than the people that you had to go. Here's the, well, I guess we Indians have to talk about this. But roughly, there would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The other groups is a little troubling, but so maybe there's more, to be more specific. But those are the, I guess, what we're calling the linguistic groups, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 color-coded IDs. Maybe we could even use the colors in this map, you know. But then whoever created the map going to talk about, I got the jurisdiction now. No. You're going to change the colors. So how about that? I don't know. You know, we just got to beware of land grab, identity grab, birthright grabs, okay? But I think this would be a great idea for Indians who want, you know, the full sovereignty, but not the one that the government gives us, the one that we're entitled to. That all it takes is us saying, I reclaim my birthright. I reclaim my birthright as American Indian. I do not fall under federal, state, pontificates, or monarchies, or any other entities. And just because all you other entities had some role to play in disbanding my tribes, you never could take away my birthright. So now I got to walk around here like a king because y'all done took away my king, right? But I'm still king. So, you know, yeah, you can disband our or help to dissolve our tribes, but now I'm just a king. A loose king. So yeah, that roughly speaking, you know, nothing is etched in stone. This is just an idea. And no, I'm not looking to get paid for this idea, although I should. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I would never feel like I would want to impose some foolishness on Indians like that. No, 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 no. Because we'll be sovereign. We don't need to do that. We have land that is our wealth, that we don't have to rob each other. We have land under our feet. You know, we can rent out to all of these other entities that thought that there was no sovereigns here. We're nice and we never were stingy. I don't know why they call us Indian givers. I really don't know why, man. When I read about Verrazano coming to the Narragansetts and my peeps in the Carolinas, it was nothing but love he got, yo. Nothing. He said they were the most, what did he, I don't think we're going to do that video now because we done started with the United Nations and all that stuff. But, you know, he described that as the most, the words were the exact opposite of what the doctrine of discovery calls us. But the doctrine of discovery was denounced by Pope Francis. Yeah, we want to name him by name. That should go down in the history books, really. That's the one. I mean, if we don't grab it, it's as good as that he didn't say it, but he did say it. He did denounce it. So he cleaned up his act before the ancestors. I think he had to say it because the ancestors are here. You know, I really do. Somehow the ancestors' force is heavy on Earth right now. But if Indians don't get a clue, we're just going to fall right back. See, the world outside of America that the Moors basically created, it's like, look at them as the wolves. You know, they just, all they do is devour, okay, for power. Devour for power. We got to keep grandmother safe. How do we keep her safe? We don't allow the wolves to come and eat her babies and then try to say she didn't never existed and she was not grandmother, she's the daughter and all this bullshit. Just all of this to take away your birthright, Indians, that we would be despising if we don't. Okay, let's do this map again. Okay. This is what we have to take back, okay? I know y'all just want little dots in these different areas. I know you just want the dot. I'm inviting you to want more. I'm saying you have a right to want more. I say your birthright is that you looking at it on the screen right now. That's all yours, Indians. But you want a little dot over there and a dot over there. Wait, let's make the dots. I want, this is the Indians now. I want this little piece over there and that one over there, the reservation. I want this reservation here. I want a little reservation here. And the reservation that there, that there. You gotta give her chicken pox. We don't want the chicken pox or the small pops, whatever. Stop putting chicken pops on my land, yo. With you chickens. 2 chickens to take your birthright. We'll talk about bok, bok, bok. I'm talking about bop, bop, bop. Bop them over the head and take your land back. But you know, look, we peaceful Indians. You agents of what do we call them? out of order promote purveyors or of the doctrine of discovery. You're out of order now. So all your little doctrine of discovery stuff. I just equated doctrine with doctor. Oh, boy. All your little doctrine of discovery doctory, it's no longer in effect. So when the Indians say, look at my ID, this is the area that belonged to my ancient tribal forefathers. I'm still here, and so is the land. So there's my repatriation right there, right? All that land there you see for the what. Okay, let's look at the names of the so yeah, let's get rid of them chicken pox, yo. We really don't want the chicken pox. No, I don't want that. Sorry, I don't want those little dots. I want all of it. I want all of it. I'm greedy like that. I want all. I have to have it all. To have all, not part of your love. Cause 99 and a half just won't do. Just won't do. That's the Tramps. They the ones that made the Disco Infernos. Yes, I remember that song. Yes, I do. Let's erase these chicken pox. Bye-bye, chicken pox. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Nope. No. You could put the Native American. No, actually, no. I mean, that's what they got already, right? Okay, they want, that's good, because I think basically that's all they would really be deserve. They're not the first people of this landmass. Sorry, so y'all could have. That's who the reservations was really for, because the psyop was to get the world to believe that them as the Indians. So that's who the reservation, the federal aids, the jump through hoops, report to us what you're doing when you meet, and all of that. That was for the Native Americans, y'all, not for American Indians. We are a whole different type of deal. Different type of deal. Different type of deal. But let us look at our beautiful birthright. We have a right to be on our land, y'all. Who would dare try to take a whole entire people off of their land and then overcrowd another landmass with us? And they wondering, it's so offensive. It's like, well, how you disrespecting two people? You telling them Africans that move over. The Pan-Africans is coming. And the Africans are like, huh? Yeah, I said move over. And then, our brainwashed people, Indians, over there talking about they so happy to be home and all of this. Well, you know what? Some of them, they have become, for all practical purposes, African. Okay. So we just have to encourage the babies to be grown-ups and go home, because you've already claimed your mother. She waiting. She needs you. According to everything that we see, she needs you a lot. But then you're gonna have to pay us Indians for what you need. If we have it, you're gonna have to because you're African, you're not American. This is not your birthright. Okay, so you can't just take from here now, because you African. You have to own everything Africa is, including the poverty. Look, that's yours now. Work with it. Do what you can with it. But please, no more of them damn commercials. Really, really though. Don't come, you chose that. That's what you don't tell me y'all don't got this and y'all don't got that. You had a whole land under your feet that you never reclaimed. So you chose to be where you're at. You can't say that we have to find your solution or we are your solution. We are not. We are not. So yeah, let's not forget the lower parts of our birthright. Mosquito? I don't know ain't no place called Mosquito. That's where mosquitoes come from. Even mosquitoes have a birthright on Mosquito. All right now. All right. Just don't let Mr. Gates get to y'all. He that if that Caucasian Negro ain't the living island of Dr. Frankenstein or Moreau or whatever, so I just like, to remind us look at all that land, y'all. I think Chief Calinago did a video recently where he found out that there's over 7,000 islands in the Caribbean alone. But I'm looking at up here, and it looks like a lot of land up there too, but that's in the cold area. We Indians don't like cold. Oh, Copper Eskimo? Huh? Copper Eskimo. If that ain't a mouthful right there. Copper Eskimo? And then you got your Alaskan Eskimo up here. But Copper Eskimo, I didn't know nothing about that. Wow. Wow. Copper Eskimo. All right now. So yeah. So the cards would this be Iroquois, one of them is Iroquois, but let's start from the beginning. Eskimo Aleut. I guess but that is for those who want sovereignty, right? I think particularly the Algonquin, the Siouan, the Iroquoian, the Oto-Aztecan, and other groups. Now, I guess you have to get a little more specific, but maybe that could be their color, and then they could have in the color they could name the exact, but basically the color code. If we use it, you don't have to use these colors, but we can. Colors are free. I hope somebody didn't copyright colors or shit. Oh Lord. But I don't suggest we use black or white. I don't suggest it. But yes, so the whole card itself could be that color, and that would be the key, because sometimes a map ain't gonna fit, right? I mean, it'd be good to see the areas, maybe a map could be on, maybe a small map would be good. But maybe the whole card could be the color of the linguistic group. And somewhere in our laws, we would say that, we are adopting this color just for designation's sake. It has no real consequential meaning, except that this represents, when you see this color, think Iroquois, or when you see this color, think Sioux. When you see that color, you think Oto-Aztecan. You see this color, think Algonquin, and I mean, I don't think it has to be serious. It's just a designation for now, pick out, whatever, maybe agree on a color, but it should be a simple color, not one of these special colors that somebody done copyrighted, like in the Crayola box, So yeah, that would be, that would be so, it's almost like, I don't know, somehow I see the ID card and the linguistic map connection as uh like what they say, killing many birds with one stone. But we don't want to kill a bird, just identifying many birds with one. I don't, you don't want to have to kill the birds, whatever. Okay, so there you have it. I just take a moment and thank you, ancestors. Thank you again for a little bit of a roadmap. That's really a profound roadmap, you know? Yeah. So again, I remember I said that we were part of the Powhatan. This map shows it, and I didn't notice that before. I'm talking about people in like the parts of North Carolina and Virginia, because and how we know is right here, right? Because there's nothing but Powhatan for this, and now we know this bleeds into North Carolina. So who's down here? All the Powhatans. But they never really like to say that it stretched to North Carolina. They always keep it in Virginia for some reason. I think they're just, just another way of trying to uh disenfranchise us. So that's why Powhatan asked the Weapamax. The Weapamax was way down here, and he was told that part of his kingdom there'd be a group of Indians that would go against him, and he assumed it was the Weapamax. So that's how we know, we were part of Powhatan. And any Indians that was in the lowest part of the northeast coastline territories. I don't like to use their word territory. Ancestral lands. How about we ancestral land? Any Indians that were in the lowest part of our ancestral land area would have been part of Powhatans. And then up you get, the other branches of Algonquin. But yeah, there's nothing under Powhatan. That's how we know that this was all Powhatan, even in North Carolina. And I was always I always couldn't, I wanted to see a connection that besides the one I was making in my mind. And there it is, right there. So it's Virginia and North Carolina. The, the like the that Elizabeth City area falls into that. The whole Albemarle, Weapamac, all in North Carolina. So we were all part of the Powhatan Confederacy. He was the paramount of that area. But I see now that these other ones, they must have had their own paramount, like, you know, unless Powhatan was all, I don't know. I don't. They said he was paramount of chief of. I'm wondering if he could be of all, or did each of them have a paramount. I don't. I'm not sure how that worked. But yeah. So the orange is Iroquois. And they also come down here into North Carolina. But see, the idea is we shouldn't even be saying North Carolina. You know what I'm saying? It's Powhatan, it's Tuscarora, it's Catawba, it's Cherokee. It's not Virginia, it's not North Carolina, it's not South Carolina. We're gonna have to start getting used to that. You know what I'm saying? That's how we resurrect our birthright. We call it by what it was originally. So no, it's not the state lines. This is our line. The Fed they have the state line. and the state. They have this, that's their, until they, realize, well, maybe we don't want to be here now these Indians are waking up. Let's go home and be the Indians in our country. So they might want to do that, and we should help them. Every linguistic area should have an office assisting people to get back to their birthright lands if they wish, something like that. We make a real effort to, help. We want to be very helpful in that. I mean, it would be our duty to help people like we return home. We want to help them return home if they feel like, no, I don't want to be here now that you're here. You taking authority over the states. Well, yeah, that's how it would work. That's how it would work. So let's zoom out, and this is going to be peaceful. We go on by our lawful status as Indians not taxed. Would no one ever explain to us that was a status, right? The feds will bitch and moan about not having anything to give you for repatriation. You're looking right at it, babies. You're looking at it. And the rent that you will pay to us. Now you had us tax paying to your little construct. How about now you will pay to ours? You are on our ancestral land, and we need to get some RESPECT. Okay. You've lived off of us, but now you pay taxes to us because you're on our land now. That's their worst nightmare. This wasn't supposed to ever benefit us, y'all. Well, that's why we would have our agency to help you get home, because then you want to be the landlord, right? But you can't do that here. This is all done in peace. We're not advocating violence. We are peaceful Indians, especially the weapon back. Oh my God. Oh boy. Oh boy. I guess we would also want to teach our language. That would be probably the most important. The schools should be language schools primarily. It's so important to get these languages back, it's so important because that's also what's going to give you supreme jurisdiction. We're not going to use any words ultimately that are not of our language or of dubious many meanings. No. Our language, when you think about it, is what's saving us. Our language is what's helping us take our land back, because our language is how this map was created. It all started with the word, right? Right. The word that you created. Now I peeped that Algonquian language, and that's why y'all only hear me say "quay quay" all the damn time. That's one of the simplest. But I'm trying, at least I use it as much as I can. Hopefully the ancestors will say, okay, he done wore out quay quay. He the only Indian saying it. So let's give him some more knowledge of this language. All right. I don't know. That's how I see it so far. I mean, there's a little part of me that thinks we should go back to Tamari language and Tamari and all of that, because that would be even more, that would show our ancient, that would show how old we are. This shows who we are. Tamari shows how old we are. You know, how we really are the firstborn of civilization. You know, that's what Tamari would give us. But it is, well, they didn't make the map go all the way down to South America. I think, you know, it's like they're trying to divorce us of that history. Yet the United Nations is all up in South America, y'all. They don't, you know, they're trying to take our most valuable, you know, telltale history, which makes it the oldest history on earth. That's in Tamari. That, you know, I mean, I guess we could argue the whole thing was Tamari. You know, Chief Kalinago again. I mean, he says some things that stay with me, and you know, so I like to repeat them. But he's like, it's one continent. It's not two. North and South America is one continent. So under the water, it's, you know, it's one continent, you know. But see, the sea jurisdiction wants to make it like it's two separate, you know. I think it's a way of trying to cut you off from your oldest history. But to be very clear, it's one continent system, the Americas, Canada, Greenland. What is that? Uninhabited. So all this is uninhabited. The ice cap. So that's land that in the future. Okay. But yeah, see, they're cutting off our, you know, this map cuts us off from our older history, you know. But anyway, we got to get back. But this is everything. This is everything. Okay. So what are we doing next? I wanted this closed. I can't. You usually have a little X. So anyway, yeah. What do we want to look at? I forgot what we were reading. I think we were reading Anna. Yeah. So back in the 1970s, the endlessly useless bums in the territorial United States Congress took it upon themselves to release all our state laws to the United Nations organization. See, that's why we don't want to be part of the states. But Anna's fixing the states. I have to admit, I think she's going to pull it off. I really do. I really do. So she's reclaiming all of that, you know, but she's telling us, you know, what they did. Released all our state laws to the United Nations organization, which the UN corporation. Now look how this works. A United States president started this organization. So then it becomes a vehicle where he can step outside of us, go into an international jurisdiction, and then let that international thing capitalize and falsely claim that they have a right to dispose of our property. Let's see if my neighbor Joe, who used to have a contract to clean my house, offers my stuff to Felix. Does it? Okay, let's see. If my neighbor Joe, who used to have a contract to clean my house, offers my stuff to Felix, does it mean that Felix has a valid claim to my stuff? Huh? Or the heirs to the American states. Now we're heirs to the linguistic map we just saw, but the immigrants are heirs to their states. Now we're in those states, but we're not under their laws. It's like just think of yourself as like you're a foreign diplomat. They just gotta let you do you. They can't stop you for no tickets or nothing like that. But you do want to go, you know, for safety reasons. You know, you probably want to, you know, go roughly by their speed limits or whatever. You know, but bottom line is you will not be getting a ticket. You will not be doing that. You might get stopped, but you're gonna get let go really quick when they realize you're foreign, like a foreign fucking diplomat. Yep. Yep. We don't want to use our status to uh cause havoc, you know. But the whole point is no more of mistaken killings by law authorities of their law system. No more of that. That comes to a halting end. This is what we get when we grab all our sovereignty. Now we say we care for Indians. What about them Indians that get gunned down? We have to create a sovereignty so that that doesn't happen. But if we fall in the federal government, it's going to keep happening. So we're going to still watch Indians die. We know they're Indians, even if they don't. And that's how we think we've done our job or whatever. No, we have to create the sovereignty platform. And then we got to let these other foreigners know, look, you are calling him black. We know he's not. Some of that has to go on. You know, like, again, think of how Caucasians. Now, this is not a diss to Caucasians. We don't play the Caucasian game here. But look at how they are almost like a protected class in many instances when it comes to police authority, right? It's like they're not getting the same you know, they got that white status. So that's their little out. I mean, they're slaves like all citizens are, unless they become a state national. But they don't get these mistaken killings because they're a preferred status, okay, or caste, you know. So that would be what we would be doing, protecting our own. Like they protect their own. They want Americans. They say Europeans born in America are now Americans. But what happened to the other Americans that you call copper colored? That's the ones that's used for target practice. Okay. So we want to extend that, just like the feds extend a special immunity to those they call white, but somehow they don't really get shot at. So this is why we would want to, in other words, yes, they might seem like they're not Indians and they might not identify as Indians, but wouldn't it be nice for us to take the authority that we have to know that that's our people and know that you got to stop because you can't be sure that he's African. So because you can't be sure, just how about don't do it? Then we'll never run into issues. Because if you shoot an Indian down that you thought was African, you got problems, yo. It's going to be considered an act of genocide. It has to be, especially as much as it happens and it goes unchecked. But this is where we would get African Americans by the droves. Once they see that there's a certain immunity to getting shot at or police aggressed, they might rethink being African American. So if we're serious about minimizing the African American psyop, we would go for our sovereignty. Because Lord knows, without it, we're pretty much Negroes too, because the feds can do anything with us because we're still in their jurisdiction as federal and reservation Indians. It's a life or death situation if you really think about it. So this is what I think a lot of the drive to do my videos. I see the direness, and I don't looking to step on toes, but I think we should be really clear about what we are settling for, in as much as we settle for an inferior sovereignty that the feds cooked up. Okay. So the heirs to the American states are here, and their liens and claims are in place. Any deals the hired help made concerning our assets are null and void. Any presumption that our lawful government has been in abeyance because of their meddling and breach of trust is null and void. Any deal, see, this is what we have to say about our tribes. Anything that said that they don't exist is null and void. Any deals made with our assets is null and void, meaning our ancestral lands. Anything that turned them into states for us is null and void. We don't see states. All I see is my grandmama. All I see is my tribe. I don't see nothing else. But those figments of my imagination, I won't come and aggress them, but what I'm living in is my ancestral land. I'm not in New York. I'm on Algonquin territory. Algonquin ancestral Algonquin birthright land. Okay. So any presumption that our tribal government has been dissolved because of their disbanding and smallpox and breach of trust or whatever, null and void. Any deals made by the territorial United States or the municipal United States, and in our case, yeah, we have to add the states, to give away our assets or use our assets as collateral for their debts to the UN corporation are null and void. Our debts are owed to this is an old article. I think she can safely say that El Papa is really top HNIC. That's why that hat's so big. What do they call it? A mitrer? Okay. It's all just criminal bullcrap. And the $475 trillion owed to the Americans that the Bank of France was sitting on, that's ours too. It does not belong to the territorial United States, nor does it belong to the municipal United States. It belongs to us. But I like what she said. If somebody comes to my house and takes 475 trillion of ancestral assets, it really belongs to the Indians. You know, we're not saying that the state nationals aren't owed something. Far from it. They are, because we've all been robbed. Okay. But I think when it comes to any land assets, that's all really the Indians. We were not here to make any deals, y'all. So technically, well, outside of the Iroquois Confederacy, see, we would have to get the Iroquois Confederacy and find out, you know, what exactly did you call yourself giving to the colonizer that wasn't yours to give? See, it's just a conversation. It's not, you know, I'm trying to do you in, da 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 da. No. Where's our what did you do with especially Algonquin, because that's the one who's got kicked out of the United, quote unquote, the area of the United States. What did you do with our assets, Iroquois? You called it yours. That was one thing you did. So much of it is in your hands, right? But the rest of it, well, all of it is got to go back to us, right? So where is it? Okay, it got to go back to the Algonquins because they're back. They're not just in Canada, unfortunately. We never really left either. It was duress that made us call ourselves black. But the caveat is what? We never left our land. So we deserve what was taken from us. We lived through hell to stay on our land. So it belongs to us, the United States of America unincorporated. Well, a part of it may belong to the state nationals, but I can't imagine that a lot of it doesn't belong right to the Algonquins, who were seen as no longer here, and any other Indians who now are black. Until and unless, see, this is when she flipped like most people do on the Donald Trump thing. Like, I think you forget that he's still in a construct that we the people did not build, and he is not working for us. Okay, he's under the territorial municipal because virtually now there's United States citizens. The corporation could argue there's no need for the 1787 continental contract because there's no Americans. We turned them into United States property. That's the District of Columbia. So you belong to the District of Columbia, the Pope, and Britain, and all their friends in the United Nations or whatever. Property. Property don't have rights. That's like saying my computer has rights. That's how they look at it. You know? So she says, until and unless Donald J. Trump, this is an old article, accepts the public office of the president of the United States of America. Oh, wait a minute. He has no, oh, I see what she's saying. He's president of the United States, but not the United States of America. So he would have to become the president of the United States of America, meaning the initial Constitution version. You know, he has no contract with us. She's saying he doesn't have a contract with state citizens or state nationals, and no standing to claim or administer the receipt or disposition of those funds, which belong to the American states and people. Now, remember, the states are on ancestral land. So ultimately, you know, in as much as they're here and they are constitutional, we do have some kind of I don't know. I want to say, use the word that I saw, protectorate of people who are here. It's like they're here for asylum, you could say. I almost want to say that Indians could, if we go with the original Constitution, which that's really what we have. That's the contract we had. So it's almost like I think we might have a somewhat of a protectorate duty to the state nationals. And like we could look at them as somewhat foreign diplomats, you know. Uh and so we would say, look, you found sanctuary in our ancestral land, and we continue to offer that to you. But I think the state should pay some kind of I don't know what even it would be called. Uh but you're thriving on our land, right? Uh the corporation had you paying to them, but really it should have been to us, the Indians, because this is our land, our rightful land. So there would, I guess, that would have to be worked out. But partly is because we've been at the bottom in our land, and some kind of compensation has to occur. And I think it would be fair that if you're on my ancestral land in what you call a state, uh you, it's like paying tribute to the chief, you know, that's all. So it would be tribute to the chief, I guess, unless we use a different word. But once we have our sovereignty, I don't think the word will be as lethal, or the word tribe, or because you know so okay, so what we read? Yeah, Trump has no contract. He doesn't. He's he's in a contract with the higher ups of the corporation, not we, quote unquote, we the people, or the Indians. The Indians disappear. Okay. So she's saying he does not have a contract with state nationals. Unlike his officers, which are corporate and private offices, I'm sorry, unlike his other offices, which are corporate and private offices, the public offices, I'm saying the public office requires him to act in behalf of the actual states: New York State, New Jersey State, not state of New York or state of New Jersey. That's the corporate, that's the federal franchise. So unlike his private offices, which are corporate and private, the public office, when you're president in the public office, it requires you to act on behalf of the actual state nationals, state citizens, not United States citizens. See, as it stands, he's president of the District of Columbia, technically, because we have all been, hijacked by the District of Columbia. So it's like the District of Columbia turned all the states into districts as well. Basically, it used the name because it can't tell us that you're no longer really a state. So we just make, okay, we'll trick you. We call you state of New York, and you'll think you're still the same thing you were when you started. But really, for all intents and purposes, all practicality, you are a district. You're under a district, meaning you're not even part of the land soil at all. And you're in other words, the little area of DC that we gave to the monarchy, they found a way to be bigger than that, bigger. And so they bled into the states and turned them into virtually just other districts. You just made the district bigger. So that's how they did it, y'all. They recreated the land soil states into commercial entities with the capital letters and all of that. So, okay. The public office requires him to act in behalf of the actual states and people, and to act in concert with the hereditary head of state and the fiduciary officer to do business for them in good faith. It has apparently not yet hit home that we are the employers of the territorial and the municipal states, because middlemen, Serco and the Queen and Crown bankers haven't, well, she's no longer, okay. Serco, the monarchy, the Crown bankers, and Crown bankers have been issuing the checks in our behalf, but in fact, we are the only ones who can actually pay them or pay off the debts they have accumulated, ostensibly in our service. That is perhaps something of a sticking point, in that not all expenses charged to us are authorized or beneficial to us. A fact that both the territorial and municipal United States and their creditors, including the UN Corporation, may not like to consider, because odious non-consensual debts have to be charged off. However, the question has been called, and they are on the hook to deal with the realities of the crimes that have been committed. And not just those crimes that have been committed within their organizations, but those that have adversely impacted innocent people worldwide. In view of the malfeasance, the UN Corp and the United Nations Front Organization has demonstrated in misdirecting humanitarian aid that was paid for in good faith and charged against the accounts of the American states and people. I am calling for a complete fiscal audit of both organizations, UN and the United Nations, complete with verification of receipt of funds and other forms of aid. In other words, you show me the receipts that this aid went to where it was supposed to go. The audit will show that innocent Americans, Chinese, Germans, Swiss, Norwegians, Canadians, English, Russians, Japanese, Aussies, Italians, Frenchmen, Poles, people from all over the world have faithfully contributed large amounts of humanitarian aid to and through the United Nations. And most of it disappeared down rabbit holes, was spent on crony deals like army surplus wool blankets sent to Nigeria, or used to buy armaments. And then we wonder why the condition of the earth and the world just gets worse and worse and worse, while our taxes go higher and higher. The answer is simple. We have criminal commercial corporations masquerading as lawful governments. And then we have these criminal commercial corporations sending their bigwigs as ambassadors to this center of the crime syndicates, calling itself the United Nations. And we expect anything but more criminality to be the result. So the big wigs and ambassadors, they send it to the United Nations. When you see that big room full of ambassadors sitting behind a glass with the name of their country on it or whatever, and we expect anything more but criminality to be the result. All these so-called institutions and commercial corporations have glutted themselves on the people they were supposedly helping and serving. They are like parasites. They all need to be audited, and the guilty ones need to be liquidated. If the actual governments of the actual nations of the world wish to establish a meeting ground to discuss issues of mutual concern and to join together to take joint action, with regard to mutual problems, which was supposed to be the function of the United Nations organization, fine. But let it be actual and accountable governments meeting in this fashion, not hired help. You see what she's saying? That's why when we read before that Russia and China was like, no, we want to go to war though. We've come back when we finish kicking this ass over here, and then we're going to be ambassadors of peace. So what she's saying, if it was the actual governments in these meetings and not the representative, then they wouldn't be able to do these wars. So she's explaining, I guess, how it's possible that China could be at once in the United Nations and then also be at war, although you are in an organization that is supposed to be establishing keeping the peace. But it sounds like you're just keeping the peace as in the Medea peace. Let it be actual and accountable governments meeting in this fashion, not hired help, not commercial corporations in the business of providing governmental services. So the United Nations, they're providing services, but who's paying them? Because basically that's what they're doing, right? But that's what we hired our government to do. But now we have two entities charging us for services we didn't ask for. Pretending to be a government or a peacekeeping agency while lining your pockets puts you in a position where there is too much temptation and too little accountability. That's what Anna says. And you know what? I understand it now. You know, I understand what she's saying. Because the UN corporation, let's say it together, is just another commercial corporation formed in Vichy, France during World War II by fascists bent on world domination. That's why you need a world food program. You're going to dominate the food. You're going to dominate the food. You're already dominating the health situation with the World Health Organization. So when you say you better take this genocide and shut up, you're going against your own declaration, right? If the World Health Organization made everybody take a shot and there's an UNDRIP and they still did it anyway, well, you just you explain that to me then. You explain that to me, okay? Just, you know. In other words, they shouldn't be doing that. They shouldn't be doing anything forced. Even if it's good, it shouldn't be forced. My point is, one branch of their entity called the WHO or the WHO is taking a liberty that they should have never, because it's kind of going in conflict with UNDRIP. So you'll say, well, you still used it to not get the jab. Yeah, but it should have never been forced, period, because you're part of the UN. That's what I mean. In other words, are they actively seeking to protect indigenous people, or are they making you come into a international jurisdiction instead of stopping your own agency from what could possibly be active genocide, you're putting out the problem and the solution, allegedly. Solution. If you know what I'm saying. So from there we wanted to look at, and then I think we should close, because these things become so long, and that's not what I want to do. Did I close that? Where did it go? Yeah. Okay. So let's read this top part. The United Nations. None, this is Article 131, none of the provisions of this charter shall be construed as impairing the rights and obligations of the member states under the Charter of the United Nations. So nothing that the American Organization of States shall be construed as impairing the rights and obligations of the member states of the under the Charter of the United Nations. So this is AOS conceding to the United Nations, is what I wanted to show. Because this is the ADRIP. This is where ADRIP is coming from. What are the red flags with ADRIP? Indians have linguistic ancestral lands. Anything called a state, even the Organization of American States, it's a jurisdiction issue. Isn't it funny how the United States have now, it's almost like they're calling all America, including South America, states. So someone is imposing a state on our ancestral lands, right? Everything now is going to be called, now that they mastered the technique of turning states, the land soil states, into franchises of the Fed, now they can call everything a state, because that will give them jurisdiction, which gives the United Nations jurisdiction. And as we read, what was it? Let's go back. Oh, it had two versions? Okay. I think that's the clearer version. Is this it? On the basis of the Convention on Privileges and Immunities of the United Nations, the UN and its agencies are immune from the laws of the countries where they operate. This gotta be done in red, y'all. I like something to make it more red, because that's like I find that to be a red flag. I find that to be a red flag. And this thing is doing that thing because everything is a hyperlink. So that's everything that's underlined is hyperlink. So let's see, where can we do? Yeah. That's a serious one. You're doing a lot. You're taking a lot of authority for a peacekeeping entity, right? How can you not abide by the laws of the land and keep peace? Be- Again, you're not like, okay, as an Indian, I'm a sovereign. So you would be imposing your sovereignty over mine if you are immune to the laws of the land. You're a sea jurisdiction that's flooding the land. Oh gosh. It just, everything boils down to that again. So then let's go back here. So needless to say, OAS just bitched itself for the United Nations, because they say nothing they do is gonna go. And look, was that okay? So that looks a lot like the United Nations thing, anyway, but it's not. Um, these are the members. What I found interesting was that that's the corporation. So here's an ambassador of the corporation. Wow. So this is not land, soil, jurisdiction. It's an international sea jurisdiction. To be sovereign, you have to be a sovereign, or who's head of the governments if the governments are corporations? That would be the Pope. When it was a de jure government, it was the sovereigns of the land that were in charge. When it became a corporation and a de facto government, El Papa, the Holy See, he's in charge. When you're in a corporate construct, you belong to the Church of Rome. When you are a sovereign, you are self-governed, and you're not a corporation. What is the message? The message: a corporation is not going to get you sovereignty, and there's no way to work toward it in a corporation. There's just no way. It's going to be a clean break. But here's the list of, it's like A lot of the Caribbean is in this. So they're making states out of islands. Member states. The word I'm allergic to, states, because that's a construction of the colonizer. Everything the colonizer makes is not going to favor American Indians. These missions give me flashbacks of missionaries. It's almost like being the Church of Rome without being the Church of Rome. You're doing the same thing, like. And none of these people, they by design, they're a corporation. So they are under the Church of Rome. They're under the Church of Rome. The fact that they even call themselves organization of, these are not states, these are islands. So now it seems like, say in the case of Barbados, you get your independence from one entity of the Church of Rome, and then you become part of another entity of the Church of Rome. You ain't independent. On top of that, Barbados, they did something with the metaverse that I just don't even want to talk about. They sort of somehow made themselves the first people to do something with the metaverse. And I thought, wow. Y'all get independence and you put yourself in the metaverse. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Who created the metaverse? Okay, so that's your daddy now. Not you. Your independence was lasted for every bit of the ceremony. And then when you became part of the metaverse, okay, then. All right, then. You just don't know how to, you don't running away from sovereignty, huh? It's running from the frying pan into the fire. Now you're going to be a little, emoji or some shit? So the members are the member states. I didn't know Barbados was a state. So my grandmother's from. You're not a state. Oh, so at least the United Nations get the landmass right. The American Organization of States, you're not states. But you are, or if you are, all you did was recreate yourself into an entity that the colonizer brought to the Americas. These have to all be representatives of the Church of Rome, relatives of the monarchy, or something. Because they would never or should never want to be in this type of thing. Antigua, Barbuda, Argentina, Barbados, but they got it's like a whole South America, the Caribbean and the whole South America. They done got themselves locked up in some other fucking colonizer of vehicle. In as much as, they are members. So here's where ADRIP is coming from. All colonized up, using their language and everything. All it means, the whole point of this is that if we didn't make it, it ain't ours. How about that? That makes simplify. If we didn't make it, we didn't draft it, it ain't ours. As a sovereign, you can make your own charter. You don't need some charter from some monarch, the same one that colonized you, talking about he done made a charter for the AOS and the OAS and the UN and I make charters. I have the power. See, they are taking the authority of sovereigns. And again, corporations are basically under the Pope. So it's once again, it's a monarchy in the Church of Rome. But the church denounced the doctrine of discovery. If Indians don't grab it, it's just going to be sucked up again, you know, in some other way. He said it. He said it. It's up to us to hold him down to it. He vindicated himself. Now it's just us hanging ourselves if we don't grab it. Again, grabbing it does not mean become a federal record. No. That's saying I rather stay a slave than be sovereign. Okay. So that was the red flags with OAS. The United States is part of it? Oh, you mean the District of Columbia? What about the United States of America? I mean, when they use the United States, it's the corporation. Okay. So it's like the entity we hired is that having osmosis. It's breaking up into all kinds of things to avoid the contract. It became the OAS, the UN, the United Nations, the Organization of American States. Because when they turned it into an acronym, or 10-1, it's a storefront. You know what I'm saying? And they're going to be like the UN, start doing too much. And now it's not about peace. The United Nations was about peace. UN is about domination. But they one and the same, but they just, it's like a parent corporation and baby corporation, whatever. But they done got you to think that, it's one and the same, but technically it's not. They are, but on paper they're not. It's not contract. It's contractually. So they're not obligated. Okay, so they're one and the same, but the two different versions have two different obligations. One has none, and the other one pretends to have that they're going by their obligation. So what was on the original contract? What their what do you call it? Their articles of incorporation or whatever. Was it United Nations and the UN, or was it just United Nations? But then later on, when they create the store, when they start storefronting, then all of a sudden everybody's calling you this trend that the corporation has of calling itself one thing, and then all of a sudden it has to be abbreviated, alphabeted. That's a dangerous game. That's a dangerous game. You're one or the other, or you have one contract as one thing, and then you secretly just eliminated that contract. That's what the United States did with the United States of America. Made all that null and void. Then they created civil rights. The United States of America would not have created civil rights. In the United States of America, there's no blacks, there's no whites. In the United States, that's where all the shenanigans, black and white, the civil rights, the Negroes, the coloreds, the United States citizen. That's all in the United States. If it was legit, it would be United States of America citizen. That would be more legit than United States citizen. But no, really it should have been state citizen, state national. So these are just a little. I don't think I'm going to go down this list. Maybe we should. The permanent missions, Antigua, Barbuda, Antigua and Barbuda. I'm sorry. Argentina, Barbados. Barbados, damn it. What's her name? What's it? Rihanna, help. Buy that country back, boo. Buy it back, girl. Unless she part of the whole thing, you know. Barbados, Belize, Bolivia, Brazil, Canada, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Cuba, Dominica, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, El Salvador, Grenada, Guatemala. I'm surprised Jamaica is not part of it. But maybe that's why they suffering, because they being squeezed out, you know. Who knows? Guatemala, Guyana, Haiti, under. So what happens when an organization like this gets all these people? Do they have access to all of their resources? Oh, Jamaica is part of it. Oops. Sorry, Guyana, Haiti, Honduras, Jamaica. Oh, so they're not helping with aid to help the ones that you don't want it anyway. I'm just saying. Jamaica, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, Paraguay. Not HERU. Ugh. Ugh. That's the house of HERU, y'all. That's where Tamari was. That was the holy city before it was called Jeru. You know, it was Peru. Then they call it was Jerusalem, and then Jerusalem. So basically this is just the corporatized version of the land. So it's not really real, but once it gets part of something like this, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Suriname, the Bahamas, Commonwealth of Trinidad and Tobago, United States. Oh, here they say United States of America. It's very interesting. I think that's a very loose, because there is no United States of America, right? Because there's no peopling it besides Anna and those, you know. But everything else belongs to the United States, not the United States of America. So they can say that, but technically the United States of America does not exist anymore, because the new thing is the United States. But you say that, it's not accurate. It's like what they did with the Indians. They say that there is a commerce clause between Indians and free persons. But if there's no Indians, then is there commerce going on between Indians? So then you could basically, there's no Indians. So there's that contract is void, really, that when it comes to Indians, because there is none. Same thing here. You could say that there's a United States of America, but you know damn well there isn't, because there's no sovereigns. All them people are slaves in the state of, and the state of this and the state of that. Those is corporate slaves, debt slaves. Now Anna, she's got nationals or sovereigns. They have a level of sovereignty due to the Constitution. So this is a misnomer. There's no United States of America in existence besides Anna, and I know damn well she ain't part of this shit. I know damn well she's not. She would never. Anna's mindset is, all I need is the Constitution. Thank you very much. I don't need all these other cooks in the kitchen, subcontractors. We contracted with the principal. This is a this is a subcontractor. We only deal with HNI, C, whatever. We don't deal with the subcontractor. The contractor is the one we made the contract with. This is a subcontractor that the contractor is trying to divert from that original contract. United States of America, there is no such thing. Outside of Anna's state nationals, and she would never, I repeat, never join. You have to be a sovereign to choose this kind of thing. Not reclassified and pulled into a jurisdiction that you don't even know you're in, but they call it the United States of America. It's not possible. There's only United States now, because that's why there's United States citizens. Aside from the state nationals of Anna, there's only United States citizens. Anna would not join this organization, point blank, period. Uruguay, Venezuela, Bolivarian Republic. Yeah, what is this? Okay, permanent representative. Oh boy, this will be interesting. Permanent. These are agents of Rome. They would have to be, or super ignorant people of those countries who still don't understand jurisdiction and permanent. Jamaica's first. I wonder why they put her up there at the top. They done took the alphabetical order out and made this. I wonder why it's in this order here, but not here. These are the permanent. Okay, so the permanent ones are different from member states. These are permanent. So let's see if we can figure out. Is it everybody on that list? I don't know if I feel like that. It looks like everybody. But let's see. Permanent missions. Anyway, so yeah, we just want to look at the red flags of these, the sources of the two declarations. The red flag again is, why these islands called states? Because they're being grabbed into a colonizer setup, which means the colonizers behind this, trying to get us to sign on to their declarations. And then once we sign on, you're automatically part of their thing. That's a grab. Ugh. Ugh. This is almost 3 hours, because I took that break, it's shorter because I stopped it. I think I'm gonna end here. I think I really roughly covered what I wanted to. The OAS, this is what we do, uses a 4-pronged approach. It reminds me of the 4 powers in the United Nations. So they use a 4-pronged approach to effectively implement its essential purposes. Oh, let's see the charter. I'm sorry, I'm jumping around because it takes a sovereign or a corporation, somehow a corporation masquerading as a government to, yeah, we did look at this. Charter of the Organization of American States. Inter-American Treaty. Let's see if we could find this up on the Wikipedia. Because Wikipedia is who told us. Oh no, they told us what a charter is, I think. Well. Who chartered this? It was as amended by the Protocol of Amendment to the Charter of the Organization of American States. Protocol of Buenos Aires. Uh, I guess it would be the signatories. Wait, signatories? Wow. Uh, signatures and current status of ratification. Indians, we got to get out of all of these. There's a lot going on that it's just a lot of intricate corporate entities. It's just too much, man. There's a lot going on with America, man. It seems like I don't know. You part of the United Nations, you're part of, but it's all the same and overall entity. But it's like grabbing so much of America into this. Remember, Indians don't exist until we say so, right? So we had nothing to do with this. We have to make it. And then we could grab back everything that's being grabbed from our jurisdiction. So they have a permanent council on preparing legal instruments within the inter-American system. Considering that the organization, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around, of American states is the hemisphere's forum par excellence for the development and codification. Oh, baby, we don't need that. Uh, into it's a sea jurisdiction again. And the Americas are one, you know, if we got it right, we would understand that we're one landmass. So it's not going to be called international law. You know, we how do I say it right? It when I guess it could be. Let me see. Like when Europe, uh, when a nation in Europe does business with another nation in Europe, is that international? Uh, when now in Africa See, that's where the confusion comes in. Depending on how you divide up the land is how you're going to call it international. What I think is that the corporation masquerading as a government, they play in both. Like, if you call it international, you can impose taxes and stuff as if you're doing commerce on the high seas, but it's one landmass, so it's not the high seas, and so you're grabbing again. But if it's considered more like a United States, then it's not all these different countries, right? Or so it's like they mixing it all together, mixing and matching in a way that's most profitable for them. Whatever way how we can get paid, that's what we do, even if it's in direct conflict with what this thing is supposed to be. All I know is if you don't have your stuff together as a nation, you can't really be international. Like, you have to be sovereign. And if you're not sovereign, you're just being grabbed up by an international sea beast. If you're sovereign, you won't be eaten up by an international sea beast or sea creature. But if you're just sort of hanging out, all fucked up and all colonized, when the international comes to get you, you're just going to be like, a little bitch of the they're going to dominate you. So you have to be sovereign just to even have a true standing. When it comes to international. And I really think international, it only should deal with trade. Like, it doesn't have to be thing where it gets all intricate. It's about goods or services, right? Goods, that's all. We don't have to make international law as if it has to be this other than commerce, really. Now, to commit an international crime, well, that would be criminal. That it wouldn't have anything, that would be a criminal thing. I just feel that the priority of sovereigns is their own land, not some internet. If a monarch is going to want to be talking about getting out there and trying to grab land and all that stuff, but a regular old, like an India or something, who's sovereign, we're just concerned about trade, perhaps, and what's going on our landmass. We're not looking to get in every country's business like an international entity usually is. So that's the thing with international. It's getting into everybody's business more than just commerce. You know what I'm saying? Again, if I'm doing business with you, don't mean I want you all up in my business, So on that note, these are all corporations. That's what we need to understand. There's the sovereign behind the corporations is what we have to think about. We know it's not us because we're just waking up, right? There's no Indians that are giving charters. So these things are owned by some other sovereign that's hiding in a corporate entity. Okay. So then it becomes mostly commerce. But then now it's trying to be all about courts and stuff, and food programs. What do you mean food program? I mean, we can trade food. We don't need a food program, but we can trade like spices for fruits or whatever. that kind of thing. But you having a food program, what does that mean? That don't sound good. I know that. That's we could imagine what that means, right? We ain't gonna say it. We could imagine. Uh, it's more about controlling than trading, shall we say? Shall we say? That's the difference between international sort of law and actual trade, or one is trying to control the entity that it's trading with. The other is just trading with the entity and minding its business. When you have to get this kind of level of all this international stuff, that is nothing but trying to control. That's control. That's why international law, it's out to control. Okay? It should leave you to mind your own business, not try to get in your business. So on that note, I will leave. I'd like to end with this visual to contemplate. Ugh. Yeah. I'm just gonna stop because I'll keep talking if I don't shut up. There's just something weird that with this American Organization of States and the UN, it's like one is a direct grab of America, the other is a grab of just everybody, everybody else. So I'm a little concerned about the grab that's specifically American. Outside of America, do what the hell you want. UN, just leave us out of it, okay? We don't want your peacekeeping. No, that's just a whole surprise package. You're doing too much. And again, you were created by one of our presidents as a means to distract from the contract he was in, which he weaseled out of once the United States was created. No more United States of America contract. So that's how that went. He became international, and then all of a sudden America became like wanting to take some kind of authority in spreading its form of government. That's nobody asked you to do that. Nobody asked you to do that but you, and who's really behind you. Now the Pope, again, he denounced the doctrine of discovery, right? But even if his authority was spiritual, it wouldn't have nothing to do with your resources. You see what I'm saying? So that's another grab. Your spirituality is this, so I can take your land. Does that make sense? What about your spirituality is a little off? Let me help you and leave you alone on your land. But here, this is the story about whatever deity you teach it, but still you don't get to force me into it. But that's basically what happened. We know that. Anyway, thank you for watching. Wish you peace, health, wealth, your land back, your identity back, your birthright back, your sovereignty back, all of it, not a part of it. Look at that map. There's your sovereignty. You have to take all of it, though. You have to take all of it. I'm not saying you go to war with the states and nothing like that. We here as peaceful Indians, but we got to let you know that we don't go by your state lines. These are our lines right here, what you're looking at. Anyone interested in know what Indian territory you are on, here's the map. You foreigners that forgot, look at the map. So those are the ones that you buy land from. Those the ones, or I say Indians never sell land. What you're doing is leasing it or renting it. Collectively, we would collect some kind of, I guess it would be called some kind of tribute from these states. to help restore what the states had a part in taking from us. That seems like restitution. So again, health, wealth, all the good stuff. Your land back, your identity back. As I said, your birthright back. Be and remain highly favored. Till next time.